Hey, what's up, beautiful people? Welcome back to the Living Vivaciously podcast. I'm your host, Marina. And today we are talking about how you can build a strong and successful personal brand, even as an introvert. Maybe you feel like there's no place for you in this very extroverted online space, or maybe you've struggled with showing up because you don't want to share so much of your personal life within your personal brand. But you are craving this deeper connection with your audience and want to build a brand that reflects who you are just as you are. My guest today is an expert on this specific topic. Not only is she a personal branding expert who's worked with Fortune 500 companies and brands like Google and Adidas, amongst many other, but she's also a Muslim woman from Germany who's gone through this journey of discovering how she can build a global brand that represents who she is and her beliefs and values. Hi, Sina. Welcome.
Hi, Marina.
All right. So, we're talking about building your personal brand as an introvert. There are many people out there who feel like maybe there's no space for their voice, their personality, because what we see out there is people yelling into their microphone and like telling us what to do, the Tony Robbinsons of the world. And I want to hear from you about if you consider yourself an introvert and what does that look like in your life and content?
Yeah, so I think my entire life I thought I'm an extrovert because people told me like you're so confident, you always speak up. And I think when something is important to me, I do speak up and I don't really care, if people hear me. But when I actually did the research about what is introvert, what is an extrovert, I actually found out that 70% of people are on the spectrum of being an introvert and extrovert. Like there's 30% literally on the edge and the rest is in between, which means there's so much space of just not really labeling yourself as either or. I feel like I'm either an introverted extrovert or an extrovert introvert. It really depends on the season. Sometimes, and I think in the last couple of months, I've been a really more extrovert introvert because I like to spend time by myself. I get energy from being alone. I feel like when I put myself into social settings, I do need that balance of going home, just spending 3 days by myself or with my family and just like reading and journaling and going out to nature. So I do think what we label people as, whether you're introvert and extrovert, is actually just where do you get your balance from, where do you get your energy from. And I do think it depends on the season for me whether I wouldn't call myself that. But I do think that when it comes to putting your business out there, putting your brand out there, I have the confidence to do it, and I exude like the energy where people say like, you're so extrovert, you're like good with people, like probably you as well, right? Like you like to socialize. When you're at an event, you perform. But when I'm home, I'm just like, don't talk to me. I don't want to have calls. And so I think it's an interesting question. I would ask you the same question because I feel you and I have very similar energy in that regard, where we can just be like, you travel the world by yourself, but you also meet people, right? So you spend a lot of time by yourself, but you're also really good at socializing when you want to or with the right people. So what would your answer be?
Okay, I love your answer, especially the part about the labels. I think we get so stuck in labels and boxes, right? And
Yeah.
then people are like, no, I'm an introvert, so I need strategies for how do I show up as an introvert, right? Like, and then we
Yes.
get so stuck in that personality and we promote it to the world and then we're boxed in. So actually, younger me was very extroverted. I love being outside and meeting people and being around people and talking to people. And I think like one of the things that I love doing is communicating. Okay.
Mhm.
Like I'm an over communicator, which explains why I have this podcast now. But I think over the years, I have loved my own company more. And I think I've always loved my own company. So it's not like that I escape my own company, but I love getting ideas from other people. So therefore, people label me as extroverted because when I'm with a
Correct.
person, I
You
like want to
collaborate.
know. Mhm.
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Like when I collaborate, I want to hear your ideas. I want to hear your thoughts. I'll ask you so many questions, which also led me to understand like these traits that we naturally have maybe as kids, like when we are inquisitive and we ask questions and all this, actually can lead us to our gifts. So this is what I love now, like interviewing people, and I've slowly like have grown into this. But at the same time, I need to recharge. So I need to come home
Yes.
and just be in my world. That's why I take a lot of time in the morning also to, I take about like an almost like 2 hours of just me. I don't look at my phone. I mean, sometimes I do, and like chat with people. Like I called one of my my good friends the other day at like, I don't know, it was before 1 p.m., which is that's when like my brain like starts to switch on and I could do like work with other people. But it was before 1 p.m. and I called her and I was like, by the way, I just want you to know you're special because I'm calling you before 1 p.m. and I don't talk to anyone before that time. But it's nice,
That was
right? For us to
amazing.
create that
Yeah.
space and these boundaries for us to recharge so that we can show up in the world
Yes.
as our best selves.
And there's actually signs that you're an introvert, and I feel a lot of it at times apply to me. And at times I do like to switch into like extroversion mode because I do feel like I'm a more confident self when I just like push and go out. So like there's signs of being an introvert is like being around lots of people drains your energy. Sometimes that's true for me, sometimes it's not. For instance, if I do keynote speaking and I have a group of like students asking me questions, I can be there for 3 hours chatting with you and like giving you tips and things like that. But at some time, like sometimes I would just choose not to put myself in a group of people. I like to, just like go away, kind of set myself apart. Another sign of being an introvert is actually if you have a very close knit group of friends, and that's definitely true for me. That's always been very true for me. Then people often describe you as quiet or may find it difficult to get to know you. And I feel like that is not really true for me, but I also don't like to expose my entire personal life to a person that I still like just meet. And I think that is something that really translates into my business and brand. I do not like to just put my entire life out there for people to like judge. I like to put it out in a way that I create my own barriers. I give you the feeling that you know me because of the parts that I feel comfortable sharing, but then there's parts that I will never share, or I will go into sharing later on when I really feel confident that, I don't care about what people think, what people comment, and things like that. So I feel a lot of these signs, they are true at some point in some situations. But then when I put my personal brand out there, when I, promote my business, I feel like we do have to kind of go into a mode of here I am, here's the energy I'm bringing on. So you kind of switch in between those two. And that's why I like to remember that it's a spectrum, right? It's never either or. I am finding myself on the spectrum. And depending on where I am at that moment, I take tools to put myself out there that feel good for me in that moment. When I feel introverted, I use personal branding strategies, or I create things in my business with dynamics with people or systems that cater to that introversion or to that part where I need energy for myself instead of just spreading it to the entire world.
I love that. And you said something about you don't want to put your whole life out there in your personal brand. And I feel like maybe the reason people fear building a personal brand if they associate themselves with being an introvert, and maybe that could be like the spectrum that you were talking about, like they're extroverted in some areas, they're introverted in some areas, but maybe they call themselves an introvert because they're like, I don't see myself like going out, like putting myself on social media and having the whole world know about me, my life, my family, the dirty laundry. And this is one of the big, I think, misconceptions about personal branding. So let's talk a little bit about that and how you create these boundaries, or maybe what you hear also from people about this idea of like personal brand means sharing your whole personal life.
Yeah. So there's types of people that I've kind of encountered, and I work with a lot of women. I mean, my entire social media, I think Instagram, 98% of my followers are women. So there's a huge focus on specifically how do I put myself out there as a woman, and also depending on my personality. But I've also actually worked with a lot of men that have said, I'm introverted, I don't want to put my personal life out there. So there's two types of people. There's the people that actually say, I'm fine putting my personal life out there, but I don't like to talk about my business because I don't want, evil eye. I don't want people to know how much I'm making, how well I'm doing, all these things. I feel like I'm bragging. And then there's the other part of people saying, I don't mind being professional on social media or putting my brand or business out there, but I don't want to share anything about my personal life. And I think first of all, you need to understand why is that? What is the reason you don't want to either put your success out there or your personal life? What's the reason? For me, a lot of it is privacy and people's opinions. So even in my personal life or when I meet people, even if I work with people one-on-one, if I work with businesses and I have colleagues that I work with, they don't necessarily know who I'm married to, where I live, what my parents are like, or what my personal situation is like. They know what I want them to know. And I feel like that gives me the control, the power to say, I put out there what I want people to see of me. And I feel like it really came from my upbringing. So my father, for instance, he did business with a lot of people internationally. But when he first started out, he was not successful at all. Like we grew up with very little money. And so when he went to business meetings to like close a deal, he needed to look a certain way that he wasn't like, he needed to exude a social presence and a personal brand that wasn't necessarily true to the standard he was living. So I'll give you an example. He went to a meeting in Munich. So Munich is around 2 hours from the place that I grew up in. And he needs to go there to meet someone from Russia, like a very high individual in the business world. And the guy said, okay, after like weeks of saying, I don't have time to meet you, he's like, okay, just come to my hotel. I meet you at 7 a.m. Okay. And just book the same room that I have so we can meet in the lobby, right? And he looked at the hotel, obviously something that he couldn't afford. The room price for the night was the rent that we paid for the entire month. So he drove with the car, slept in the car, changed in the bathroom into his suit, and met him in the lobby acting like he just came out of his room. And so
Wow.
for me, it was always, and he closed the deal.
Dedication.
For me, it was always like, you need to show people the version of yourself that you believe you can be. And it's not about faking it till you make it. For me, it's always imitate until you become. Not another person, but the next version of yourself. So you imitate the higher version of yourself, the version that you believe that you are going to be, and you imitate that person. But for me, also what I learned from this is you don't need to tell people your personal situation, especially in a professional setting. Now, I have friends that are introverted that literally have maybe like 3 or 4 close friends, and they do put their personal situation out there on social media in a creative way. So for instance, I think some of us know Asma Badawi. She's a spoken word artist. If you don't know her, Google her. She's amazing. She's a basketball player. She advocates for a diversity in mental health in her industry, specifically in sports. And she's a spoken word poet. And she has been very open about her mental health issues, but she does consider herself an introvert. She doesn't just go out and say like, I'm struggling with this and this happened and this is what you should know about mental health and this is how I'm going to advocate. She puts it into her craft. She does poetry around it. She tells stories around it. When she creates a video around mental health and something that she's going through, she is talking about it in a creative way, not in a way that she feels she's exposing her entire personal life out there, but in a way that she feels it shows my craft, it shows what I'm good at, it shows my brand, but it's also giving a bit of a sneak peek into my personal life without me feeling like I'm exposing it or giving it to you on a silver platter.
Yeah.
So for me, it's always, if you want to portray a professional image in your personal brand, then understand your personal brand is not your personal life. You don't need to put all of it out there. You can show yourself imitating the next version of yourself. If you do want to share your personal life, maybe think about sharing it in a more creative way where you don't feel like you're exposing it just to the world. For instance, like day in the life, and you see me do everything and like there's literally no privacy in my entire day. But maybe I share it in a storytelling format. Like this is what happened. Choose 3 to 5 stories in your life that you're comfortable sharing that have a personal angle, but leave out the other 365,000
Yeah.
stories you have in your life, right? Like you can choose really, and this is the beauty
Yeah.
of personal branding. I feel like you have the power to choose how much you share.
Yeah, and I feel like also in my world too, because I get this a lot from people. People say they really know me from my personal brand.
Yes,
And I think people think they really know me. And
correct.
I do share a lot actually. So I'm an example of someone who shares a lot in their personal brand about their personal life. But the
Mhm.
thing is, people only know what I want them to know. And
Correct.
this is actually something my father, also talking about fathers, he's always told me that I'm very secretive. And, he's like, Marina, we never know anything about you. You only tell us
Mhm.
what you want us to know. And I was like, that's right, Dad. It's something that, I've always been, but it's not like in a sneaky way. It's more because I want to protect parts of my life for myself. And also,
Yes.
another thing is people want to share things way too early, way before it's processed. Like let's say something traumatic happened in your life and you feel like this has really changed your life and it is changing your life. You don't need to jump right away and share about this experience. It can actually, and I actually encourage people to share some parts of their life that have shaped who they are and changed their whole trajectory. But if you haven't processed that and you're sharing it online, that's actually causing a lot more harm to the person, to other people, and you still don't understand how this situation has actually created change in your life to the point where you can share it as a story, as your personal brand story. I recently actually also shared my story with fibroids, but it's something that I truly believe in. It's related to my brand's core values, where I want women to be better. I want women to live a vivacious life. That is my purpose. That is why I do what I do. And part of it was when I faced different injustices in like dealing with my health journey in the US, I went on TikTok and started talking about it. And then I talked about my surgery and how I did it in Greece and the kind of care I got here. And from there, like the amount of women who reached out saying that they have been experiencing the same thing, that's as you call it, Sina, a power move. I know that was like the title of your campaign recently, but that's where I feel powerful because I'm sharing a story that I know, as much as it scares me and it makes me feel exposed because I'm talking about my health, it came from a place of power. It came from a place that aligns with my brand values versus I just want to air out my dirty
Yes.
laundry and complain about the healthcare system. It's not complaining, it comes from a different place. And I think you mentioned that too.
Yeah, there's a purpose. Like you have to understand the purpose behind sharing something. You always hear in a personal brand, just share value, share value. And it is true, but it doesn't mean to just go on camera and say, here are the 3 ways to, improve your finances. It's also about telling a story and what kind of value can that story bring? Is that is it inspirational? Is it something that people can connect to with? In your case, for instance, people can connect to because they've went through the same thing. And so what you're saying is really something that I always tell women that I talk to, my clients, people that I coach. You need to know when you share something, what's the value you share. I like to always share something after I went through it because I know what I learned from it and I can share it. Some people are as introspective as you, where you're going through the thing and you can share something in the process, but you're also sharing it with value. Like there's truth behind it. There's a way of going against injustice that you are highlighting in that content. That's the value you give to people. It's also knowing that there's something better out there. Like if you've been living in America your whole life, you know that there's something better out there. Maybe you try going somewhere else, like experiencing other places to find healthcare that you actually deserve, right? So there's always like, what is the value that you bring? Because if you share trauma while it happens without actual like the knowing the purpose behind sharing it, then you're spreading negativity. Honestly,
Yes.
you're just
Yes.
making everyone feel your trauma with you. And although that might maybe alleviate some of the pain, doesn't really give any value to your audience.
I think we can also say that people need to know, like you mentioned, the purpose behind what they're sharing. Like, just what does their personal brand stand for? What kind of cause do they believe in? So that way it feels like when they're sharing, they are sharing something within their brand realm, like it's not just completely out of nowhere, and it feels like extreme exposure. And there are places where you could do this, like if you want to. I've been testing some things like this in my close friends list, so I have close friends list that people opt into. So I don't just add people there. That's also something that's important. And yeah, if you want more behind the scenes, because some people do ask me, since I'm a full-time traveler, like different things I do and dating, for example, and I just don't want to put that on my regular story. So, okay, if you want that kind of content, if you want to see where I buy my clothes when I'm traveling, or the people I meet, or where do I find people to date, you can get on my close friends list. And then you get that kind of information. You get to ask that.
I love that you're testing those ideas to see, maybe it does resonate with a wider audience. Eventually, maybe you do put it somewhere.
Yeah. Honestly, Sina, that has been what I've been doing a lot in the last 2 years in my business. I feel like I've just been putting things out there that maybe I don't normally share, because I feel like when we start our business, we start as like, you know, in our expert power, where it's like, I have this knowledge, I want to share it with the world. And maybe you're not too sure yet, like what angle to take as far as like bringing in personal content and showing more of who you are as a person. So sharing your expertise is the easiest and safest way to go about building your personal brand. But then in the last couple of years, I've been experimenting with like, what else are people curious about? What are people interested in? And I think that's the world of TikTok too, right? Where people are more curious about like, what do you do? How do you travel so much? And then they're like, oh, you have a business. Oh, you build brands. Ah, okay, that makes sense. So now let's backtrack into what makes this human who they are and have gotten them to where they are in life.
And it's also aspirational, right? When I see you travel the world, having that lifestyle, I wonder, how are you able to do this? You build a personal brand, you build a business. Maybe I'll, get into one of your sessions and learn how to do it as well. So it's like this aspirational content that people can connect to. Don't fake it again, like don't like rent a supercar just to show that you invest in your like scam. But and I honestly, that's something that my husband asked me the other day, and it's a business decision as well, but it's a lifestyle decision as well. How do you want to live your life through your personal brand? And I thought that's such an amazing question to ask. I do ask this theoretically, but I do now also always think, what do I want people to see? So for instance, if I vlog, right? I don't just vlog because I want to share my personal life. I vlog because when you vlog, you consciously want the day to be so special that it's vloggable. And I feel it's the same with your life. If you imagine what you want people to see of you, how you want people to remember you, and how, when you look back at your content, at your brand in 5-10 years, what do you want to see? Do you want to see yourself literally just waking up, drinking coffee, sitting on your laptop in your room, having an existential crisis and taking a nap, scrolling through TikTok, going back to your laptop, trying to work again, and then going to sleep? Like, is that really what you want to see when you look back at your life? Or do you want to, like, go out in nature, maybe write something down that you're going to experience that weekend, then do it and go out like to a coffee shop instead of just sitting in your place. Maybe you do want to save some money so you can go for a quick trip to like Portugal or Mexico and work there. And then while you're there, you have creative ideas for a new business idea. You make that business idea, like everything goes, it comes with the flow that you give it. So imagine what lifestyle you want to live and develop your personal brand through that lifestyle, and develop your lifestyle through that personal brand, because you can. It's weird to say, but that's how rich people live. They spend on the lifestyle that they want. And if you spend as a business owner, those things are business expensive. If I go to Portugal, not just to sit on the beach or learn how to surf, but I actually meet another creator and do a project together, and maybe I pitch 10 companies to see if someone hires me for a workshop there, then I can expense that as a business person, and it's actually a business trip. And maybe that one time I try to do that becomes 10 times I can do that in another country, in another setting. Whatever lifestyle you want to live, build your business around it, build your brand around it. Instead of faking it, actually live it.
That brings up a good point actually about, and I feel like people also who identify as introverts, this is what they say: I don't want to flex. And you probably hear that a lot. I hear it from a lot of my clients that I coach, and you probably do, especially from women. We don't want to show off that. And I think you briefly mentioned that earlier, that people who don't want to show off their success in business, like, and
Yes.
why.
So there's different reasons why. There's evil eye. I don't want people to know how well I'm doing.
Yes.
And I feel like the other thing is fear that you're actually going to make it. I have a lot of women that are solopreneurs, and it's fine if you like that setting, it's fine. But a lot of women are solopreneurs because they are used to struggling. So they are used to doing everything by themselves, getting the clients by themselves, doing all the organization. They never had a assistant, because an assistant like bougie, like it means you're making 100K a year. No, you can actually make less than that and still afford someone else organizing your stuff while you work on your business ideas. And I feel like a lot of times people are so used to being stuck in this, or they're so used to struggling, doing everything by themselves, that they keep doing it, and they keep organizing also their entire brand around, I'm doing it by myself and I'm a self-starter. Fine, you can be a self-starter, but you shouldn't be a self-finisher. You should have a team, a group of people collaborate with. And so when it comes to showing off, I feel a lot of this comes from, I have this conversation all the time if we talk about LinkedIn. Because LinkedIn is usually the platform where people see, I have a new job. I have this, I'm excited to announce whatever you're excited to announce. And it literally sounds like bragging. What I always say is, and that comes back to sharing a bit about your personal life, but in the context of what you're comfortable sharing with, is why don't you bring your success together with the value that you give people, but not just like, I'm excited to announce that I work with Google, and I did this all by myself, show off where I am and what workshop I'm giving, but actually say day in the life of a coach at Google, or what I learned from coaching 400 employees at Google the other day, and then share some tips with it. Always try to find a way to bring value to people. That value could be inspiration. So one of the pieces that I shared was the inner life of a manager at Adidas, and it blew up. It went viral on LinkedIn, over 1 million impressions. Anytime I post it on TikTok, YouTube, Reels, it gets like way more than I usually get. And a lot of this is because people are not used to seeing someone who looks like me work at like Adidas. And also in the context of what I'm doing there. So I don't just go to work and work again, like I don't just go there and work on my laptop. I go there and I pray in the prayer room that I help set up. I, take a bicycle ride. I get a smoothie and then sit down. I go and meet other women there and have a conversation about how we can work together, what kind of projects we can set up at Adidas. So it wasn't just, look at me, I work with Adidas. It was more of, let me share what I'm doing. And people ask questions. How do you set up the prayer room? How do you pray at work? Do you put it in your calendar? How do you feel comfortable being the only Muslim woman or only woman with hijab in, place with 1,000 employees?
Yeah.
How is it to live in Germany as a Muslim woman? All these things are like, it's so beautiful to see someone who looks like me in a position like that. I would love to do it as well. Do you have any ideas of how I can apply to a brand like this? How can I work? How can I collaborate with a brand like this? And so people didn't see it as, oh, she's showing off, or giving me the evil eye. They actually were interested. They were either inspired, they wanted to know more, or they just were excited to see someone who looks like me in a place like that, because it felt like there's more, right? There's more. There's not, I don't have to just listen to what people tell me I can do, but I can achieve more. And so we always put ourselves down, like there's nothing I can inspire people with. My life is so boring. Or what if I show off and people think that I'm just bragging? Most of the time, number one, people don't really care what you do. They just care about themselves. Most people are not even watching. And the other people that are watching, either they are hating in silence, or they are praising in public, or they are hating in public. That's fine. Block them. I'm fine with blocking people. If you comment a nasty comment under my content, you're blocked, because this is my place. This is my home. You came into my home to leave your trash. You can leave right away. So
Yes.
I always think, who is more important, the 10 people that are going to judge you or the 1,000 of people that you can inspire with it? And that's
Mm,
the question you need to ask yourself.
that's a big question. I know you mentioned also you're a Muslim woman who wears the hijab. I mean, there aren't that many examples of Muslim women wearing the hijab, working in these places and showing their day-to-day life in the way that you do, because you do it very in such a beautiful, intentional, I think that's the word that keeps coming through, intentional way. But I wanted to also ask you about this because you are, you dress modestly, you are soft spoken, and I think that comes with the whole set of like maybe challenges at the beginning of your journey. I'm sure there was even less people who were on the online space who
Mhm.
look like you and who are sharing and talking about personal branding, specifically even personal branding. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that and what was your journey has been like.
So that was actually the one reason why I got into personal branding, because when I did convert to Islam and like just thought about how I want to be seen, how I want to represent myself. Again, I was in a very introverted phase of my life. I cut off everyone online. I literally, Google didn't even know my name. I was like not non-existent online. So I was in this space of like, how do I build a personal brand? Because I was struggling. I was struggling to get clients. I was struggling to get jobs because people didn't know me. They didn't know who I was, what I could do. There was no portfolio of me out there. So I had to start from zero. And when I researched, all I could find was Tony Robbins, Gary Vee, and like shouting on social media and telling me, if you're a beautiful woman, you got to use it. Put yourself out there on Instagram, show your beauty. I'm like,
Ugh,
that does not work for me.
no.
I don't even want people to see my face online. How is that going to help me? So I had to find out my own ways of building a personal brand. And that's when I started talking about it at the same time. It was that conversation, like it was a journey that I went through and I shared about it because I felt like there should be women like me, not just Muslim women or introverted women or women who didn't want to show off their beauty or just show their body on social media in order to get attention. And I thought they don't have anyone that could tell them how to do this. So I started a podcast because I thought I don't want to show my face yet. My voice is fine. I just want to share what I like to talk about. And so my podcast was like my safe haven where I could experiment with building a personal brand without putting myself out there. And then slowly I went on and thought, like, how else could I create content without showing my face? How else could I create content without exposing my personal life or using my beauty or doing these trends where it's like look cute and that's the content and it goes viral. And by the way, if you're doing this kind of content, I'm not shaming you. Do you like if it's something that feels like you, if you're feeling cute and you want to record it, do that. But it does not resonate with a lot of people who feel shy or just don't want to do that or are modest, and out of multiple reasons, not just faith reasons, they don't want to just be the beautiful woman on social media, right? And that's when I thought, what else could I be doing? I could be doing, videos. Reels are working really well on social media platforms. How can I make that happen without showing my face? Okay, maybe I could do a voiceover video. Maybe vlogging works really well on social media. How can I vlog without showing my face, right? Well, how can I vlog without showing how I literally roll out of bed in the morning? Because that's not going to work with me. So I had to find my own ways. And while I was doing that, I shared them online because I felt like they were really helpful to me and maybe they could benefit someone else as well. And when you actually look, there are so many things you can learn. I always go for don't do as I say, do as I do. So I like to look at people's personal brands and see what can I take from that. For instance, there's a lot of Korean bloggers that are also, I don't know what it is, just like personal privacy or modest, but you don't see their face and sometimes you don't even hear their voice. But they vlog and they have like 3 million followers on YouTube because they found a way to have an aesthetic blog that shows their expertise, like a day in the life with a videographer in Seoul. And you don't know their name and you don't see their face, you don't hear their voice, but you can kind of follow their life. And I was like, okay, I can take a little bit of that. I can do like a faceless vlog. So you just got to go outside and see like there's so many ways to build a personal brand. It doesn't have to be dancing on TikTok or following trends or not even like I don't even use music in my content because a lot of people who follow me don't listen to music. So I work with voiceovers and nature sounds. And so my content actually became more aesthetic because I'm not using music. I'm using the sound of a bird when I go for a walk, or the sound of a kettle when I boil water. Those kind of things, your restrictions can actually become your unique advantage. So the thing that you feel holds you back becomes the thing that makes you successful.
Yes. Oh, so beautifully said. I have goosebumps right now, especially when you said that you don't use music. And I know anytime I watch any of your content, and everyone who's listening, check out Sina's content. It's beautiful. Like whether it's on LinkedIn or Instagram or the podcast, your voice has this way of creating an intimate space. I feel like I know you from your voice and the way that you speak. And this is just how you speak. I know that because you and I are friends, and we talk outside of recording things. And it's beautiful how you've used that as your strength. So you're not yelling at people, you're not hyping people up, and you just found a way of like creating even a more intimate experience for your audience to come into your world and feel closer to you and feel like they know you and that they could trust you too, because you're just showing them who you are and you don't need to constantly have the camera on your face. And I love that you use the examples of the Korean bloggers or vloggers. I actually follow this one Instagram account. I believe she's a Muslim woman. I don't know how many followers she has, but it's a big, big account. And anytime you see pictures of Sicily anywhere, I can guarantee you that account has taken pictures from her account.
That's the one
Um,
you sent me with the retreats.
yes, the one with the
Oh,
retreat. Isn't it
so
beautiful?
beautiful.
She's such a
Wow.
vibe, and she is a vibe. And like, I think people don't think they can create vibes in their brand if they're not showing their face and their beauty and what they wear and all this. Like, this woman just shows, like, sometimes she shows like her prayer rugs, or like, the Quran, like on a desk outside with a beautiful view, or like her journal. And she captures moments. And that's what she wants people to understand, the beauty of the place and the moments and the presence of God in these places. So for me, I understood her brand right away, understand what it's about. When she launches the retreat, we know who the retreat is for, who would love to come, what kind of people, and what would they be doing. And it's incredible how she's built that just through photos and videos that don't have her. I think there's one photo that she put out recently of herself, and everyone went crazy, like, wow, I didn't know you would be such an angel on earth, like things like this. But it's interesting to see that. And I think it's what we tell ourselves because of the examples we've seen online. But now we're in a space where we get to create the reality, like you said earlier, Sina, that we want. How do we want to be, and what kind of space do we want to create for other people who might be feeling the same thing as us? And that might be the superpower, or
Yes.
the thing about our brand that's so impactful.
And I think this example that you gave is perfect because she lets us in how she sees the world.
Mm-hmm.
So you literally feel like you're seeing the world through her eyes. A lot of times in personal branding, it's like, oh, you need to learn about storytelling. You need to know about this structure here. You need to know how to portray yourself. But, and all these things are true, right? But I think the easiest way to start is realizing that your personal brand shows people the world through your eyes. And so if you can capture what you see, what you experience, that could be a personal brand. So, for instance, when I started vlogging on YouTube, I put a piece of content out there. People said in the comments, it's so peaceful. I feel like I'm in nature with you. And it's just because I didn't know lots about videography. I didn't know how to tell a story. I know that there's a beginning, middle, and end. That's all that I knew about doing a vlog or telling a story. But all I did was literally grabbing my camera and showing the little things. And my husband always says, like, I can't go anywhere with you because you take 500 videos on the way to the coffee shop because you see a little squirrel and then you see a leaf and then you hear something and you just want to capture it. And I'm like, yeah, I think that's what makes me so excited about vlogging, because I can capture these moments that I see, that I feel. And some people can do it through writing, right? I can experience something, I can write about it, and I can make you, Marina, feel the same thing I feel. For me, it's videos. For someone else, it's photos. For someone else, it's talking. Like, for instance, when you talk in your selfie videos, they are so impactful because you know how to tell a story through your voice, right? And so you just need to learn what is your medium? How can you best show us your world in your viewpoint? Is it a photo? Is it a video? Is it your voice? Is it writing? There's not much else out there. Like, is it a collage, right? Is it art? What is it that can make us feel and see how you feel and see the world? And if you ask yourself that question, the content instantly becomes better. Your personal brand instantly becomes less complicated because it's not about, having the right hook. It's more about how can you let us into how you see the world. Is it a more just world? Is it a more financially literal world? Is it a world where every woman feels confident in their skin? What is that world that you see that you want us to see too? And that's how you build your personal brand.
So good. This was amazing. Show the world how you view it, like through your eyes, like POVs. Like, we are in the point of view era of content creation at the moment. We now know that we don't have one way to live life. And this is the beauty of our diversity, our voices, our backgrounds. And we can show people that it's okay to not be the standard version that we've been seeing all throughout, the last, I don't know how many years, 10 years of like people creating content and this taking off, So
And
beautiful.
that's what I see when I go on your content, right? That's why I always tell you, when I see your account, I see sunshine. I don't know how you do. Even if there's a piece of content where it's raining, it doesn't really make sense. But it's like how you see the world is very vibrant. It's very warm. It's very fun. It's vivacious, right? I didn't know the word vivacious before I met you.
I tend to introduce a lot of people to this world. They're like, what? By what?
And so that's how you see the world, and you let us into it. And by the way, this is also how you get more opportunities in life. When I shared I see the world in a way that brands do good, not just make money. I actually got approached by brands to say, can you talk about this to our marketing team? Can you do a keynote on this? Can I pay you to do this campaign for us? And so working within brands and with brands, I also know that they want to have your point of view. They want to hear your POV. They want to feel your POV. They want to see how you see the world, because all they see is their internal processes. So whether you want to make, if you want to make money for your personal brand and the way you see the world, it definitely is possible. You just have to share it so people can hear, see, feel how you see the world.
Put it out there.
Yeah.
Wow. Sina, I feel like we could talk about this forever, which I'll probably bring you on another episode to talk about how we can do this on different platforms too, because you've built an amazing presence on LinkedIn as well and on your podcast. So I'd love to take this conversation into that. But we'll wrap up today with my final question, which is my standard question. And it ties perfectly in with how we ended. What does living vivaciously or living on your own terms mean to you?
Okay, I think living vivaciously or on my own terms means to me that I know I already have what I want. So I won't be asking for something I don't have. I will be asking for more of what I already have. I have freedom, right? 99% of the time, I have 100% control over what I spend my time on. Right? I choose to work. I choose to spend time with my family. I choose to cook. I choose to sit on my phone and scroll. Right? So that freedom, I want more of that freedom. I have a place to live. I have health. I want more of that health. So for me, that means that I don't just write a gratitude list and that's it, or write a vision board and that's it. It comes together. What I'm grateful for is what I want more of. And if you're really honest to yourself, what you want, if you want abundance in your life, it's just being grateful for what you have and asking for more of what you have already. Because that entire thought has just changed my entire life and how I wake up every day, how I go to bed every day, reminding myself that I'm not asking for anything different. I'm asking for more of what I already have. And that is living to the fullest terms, because I live it in a way that I'm grateful for what I have, and I always want more. And that's nice. Like you always want more. It doesn't mean you're not grateful. It just means that you want more of the little things that happen in life. And I know that's probably a different answer to what I would usually say living on my own terms, but it has changed so much in the last couple of months, just realizing that there's so much blessing that I have. And I just want more of it. I want more of it. And I feel like that's something that I want more of a specific way, or I want it in a different shape. Like I like traveling 3 times a year. Maybe I want to travel 3 months a year to a different place. I love my health. Maybe I want to have like an even higher goal, that I never have to wear makeup to feel confident anymore. And that's the health goal I have, right? And that's like on my own terms, because it means everything I have is within me. It's in my life. I don't need to rely on anything out there. I don't need to rely on anyone. It's me and being blessed with what I have. And what God has blessed me with, I just want more of. That's how I wish.
Oh, so beautiful. I love that. And I love that you said that it grows with you. The definition of what living life with freedom or on your own terms, that grows and evolves with you as you grow. So thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being my amazing guest today and having this lovely open chat.
Space. I love to see it, and I love to see a podcast grow. I'm excited to see it grow and hear your voice even more.
Thank you, Sina. And for everyone that's listening, please follow Sina and check out her content. It's amazing. I learned so much from Sina, and I love listening to you speak and hearing your wisdom. And also check out the description for her offers and how she can support you on your personal branding journey and beyond. And don't forget to rate this podcast and follow me on social media as well. All right. See you in the next one. Bye.